rumbling can be heard on the horizon, a great stirring underfoot, as dry, dying leaves crack and crumble from the weight bearing down on them. The march into battle echoes in far-off villages and mighty metropolis, as clear as the fallen pin. A wisp of wind on the Sahara is all that is needed to create a sandstorm in the dust bowl of the Midwest. Unrest in the streets and town squares, amassed in the raised voices at the checkout counter. And a fist can be seen in the air, multiplied by the millions of disheveled and downtrodden. No, we are not to blame for the bankers' plunder. We are merely the results of deregulation, of capitalization, of corruption in high places, and our voices will be heard. Vibrating in your meeting halls, crumbling your capitals to dust and ash from whence they came. Greedy children and their teachers are not the guilty parties. The excess spoils will not be found in the pockets of the toiling masses. Grandma's Social Security check did not crash the economy any more than did immigrants send your jobs to China. We are not the problem. But like a thunderbolt from Zeus's fingertips slicing through the darkness of their expedient lies, we will be the solution!
I'm going to start a movement even if I'm the only one moving, because we should all be more afraid of standing still. Our world has fallen gravely ill, and its people are having a hard time keeping up with all the bills, so we need to stop acting like this is just a drill. From here to Darfur to Beijing, we need to start a peace movement before we all become refugees. We're already being financially cut off at the knees, because we're not only being displaced by natural disasters like hurricanes and earthquakes, but by man-made mistakes like levees that break, like deep oil rigs with no real safeguards in place, and toxic assets made by morally bankrupt banks. Yeah, I'm going to start a movement, and I'm going to do it today. Because I checked the calendar, and tomorrow's too late when you need change yesterday. And we need change, y'all. And I know you've heard that before. I'm not a politician. I'm not running for anything. I'm not stupid. And I'm not even talking about Obama, a mere human whom we treated like the second coming of Jesus. We acted like he was going to make crippled men walk and blind men see. And now he's being crucified like Jesus because we treated him like Atlas. Put all the problems of the world on his back and said, here, fix this. And because we live in a world of instant gratification, where you can make grits in 5 minutes, or microwave mac and cheese or rice in an instant, we expected him to create jobs out of thin air like a magician. Deliver us a better economy like an obstetrician. We'd show him where it hurts and he'd write a prescription. We expected one man to fix the whole world in one term. That ain't fair. Now, just because the world took God less than 1 week to make it, doesn't mean it takes that long to maintain it, especially when the last Bush in charge spent 8 years degrading it. Now, I need you to feel the sense of urgency, because this here is an emergency. We may be damaging our collective destinies. That's the high cost of doing nothing. The point is to be proactive. But lately, people act like that's just a medication for acne. Lately, a lot of us are either reacting or acting like nothing's happening. We were playing follow the leader until they shot all our leaders, and now we're just playing ourselves. Now politicians pop a squat and take a dump in the same places we dwell. And now we're all like lost sheep looking for a shepherd because we've lost our way. Well, I'm going to start a movement, and I'm going to do it today. Because I'm sick of us standing around like we're 2 years old with our fingers up our nose wondering, who's going to cure our woes? Like it's not up to us. What happened to in God we trust? And trust in ourselves we must, because no one's going to clean this shit up but us. So we better get to it. Who's ready to move? Good. Come along with me, y'all, because I'm already moving. Thank you.
I'm pissed off and my anger can't be contained. Mind full of evil thoughts, I'm about to go insane. Government oppression feeling my aggression. Worldwide genocide, the situation's depressing. Poisonous mercury found in our vaccinations. Damaging the brain's neurons of all of its patients, teaching us false propaganda-based education. Does anyone realize the true problems we're facing? Probably not, because the government classifies this information so they can continue to make huge profits in their corporations. And they distract you with entertainment and stupid shit. like who has the most bling and flashiest fits, all to assault your mentality and mind state so your mind's thought processes are surely disintegrate. Just look at the chemical trails that they put in our skies. They claim it's to combat global warming, but that's all lies, because if that's the case, why didn't they tell us about Operation Cloverleaf? On our lives, their hunger for money and power will continue to feed. And your mind is no longer yours. Believe it or not, you share. Welcome to the age of psychological warfare, because your mind is forever influenced by continuous suggestive thinking, which causes your open mind to close and its broad range to start shrinking. For example, the subliminal messages transmitted through television screens causes severe damages to the brain to an extent consciously unseen. The reason for this is that the government wants to dumb us down, so we can't see their conspiracies and turn it all around. Don't believe me? Then take a look at our foods. Most contain MSG that causes brain damages and ruins your moods. And it's intentional, so it's not like the government isn't aware. They're concerned about money and power, so when it comes to us, they don't care. They even had a conspiratorial program for mind control, MK Ultra, so they can take one's mind and own their soul. And the news are all propaganda, so they don't tell you the truth, and they back up bullshit with what they claim to be proof. And don't believe any of the school history books you read, school history books, because none of them mention America's history of deceit and greed, like how America helped fund the rise of Hitler's reign, and how they set up Osama's part in that hijacked plane. Speaking of Osama, his American name was Tim Osman. He was trained by our CIA and was our government's close friend. But of course, most don't know this information, which should demonstrate how much they manipulate our education. So stop taking everything that you're told as truth, unless you have concrete facts and solid proof. Like this bullshit about the swine flu. I believe, like pretty much all other diseases, this is man-made too. This may be opinionated, but it may be true. Because if they made poisonous vaccinations, AIDS, Gold Force syndrome, and more, couldn't this be safe to assume? So open your eyes and see the lies that blur your vision like fog. And now that you've been enlightened, take a peer into corruption's facade. We can't let these evil people run our lives and treat us like dogs. But in the end, inevitably, these evil bastards will all have to answer to God. Thank you.
It is beginning. I see it coming the way ripples in a water glass announce the arrival of something bigger than a moment. It is barreling down like a freight train, rolling in from the horizon. I sense it crackling, the buzz of electricity just before thunder breaks. I hear it groaning, giving way to the sheer force of the surge. It is happening. Change is alive, dynamic, moving, galloping, consuming ground, while some stand transfixed, feet shod with concrete, unable to move. It is coming. Change has been set into motion. There's no calling it off now. Those who refuse to see will be blindsided. Those who refuse to move will be swept up. Those who refuse to listen will be deafened. Those who refuse to take responsibility will be held culpable. It is upon us. We have ripped the gags from our mouths and are unsilent. We have awoken from our slumber. We are shaking off the paralysis. Truth is coming into focus. And that rumble you hear, it is the sound of a million souls roaring, churning and roiling, whitewater outrage at being lied to, at paying for their privilege, at believing in their process, at falling for their empty promises, at being shackled to a broken system. It is the sound of a nation that is no longer for the people and by the people, but for some people to by the people whose power is for sale. It is the cry of the masses who are hungry and sick and homeless and jobless and dying, who with our last gasping, rasping effort are shouting, "Enough!"